What was that? Hi.
Are you high?
Yeah, yep, happy holidays, guys. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm still kind of in recovery. Like, COVID is one hell of an experience, man. So that being said, I was nowhere near ready to burn today, shall we say, so I may or may not have eaten a magical gummy. And oh baby, do these hit on like a different kind of level. Today's gonna be interesting, to say the least. Don't stare off into space challenge for me, and just kick back and relax challenge for you. Also a quick reminder for anyone with a stick up their ass, I am 22 years old. I am in my own residence in the very legal state of California, so I do not condone the illegal consumption of cannabis, anything like that. Also, before we get into today's topic, I kind of beefed it really hard with these like stickers. One of them made it fully on, but the other one kind of fell apart before I could get it onto my face, and parts of it are still stuck on my fingers and on my nails. It's horrendous. So that's what's going on there, and like I have some on my nails as well. It's very weird. It all kind of still worked out though. We have to talk about Evil Bong today. Now this is somewhat of like an underground stoner horror fan cult classic as I understand it. It has all the ingredients, okay? Weed, very stereotypical stoner characters, boobs, like way more boobs than I expected. Stars Tommy Chong, legendary member of the duo Cheech and Chong. They are very well-known comedians in the stoner space. And Evil Bong is also sort of a horror movie. I feel like they're playing it real fast and loose with the term horror, but I digress. I'll give you my recommendation and just a brief little spoiler-free review before I get into the plot breakdown in case you want to watch this movie. But let me just get this off my chest immediately. I don't think that you should try to avoid spoilers. I don't think that you should watch this movie. I was so hurt because my excitement levels were off the chart. It's just a stupid stoner horror movie. It stars Tommy Chong. It was the first time I was getting high since being sick. And I've been watching so many bad new releases lately. I don't know what's going on. So I was just kind of starved for something that was so bad that it was good. And it was the most bad as in bad movie that I've ever sat through. Like, oh my god, this was a travesty. Sure, it's bad, but the main reason why I urge you not to waste any of your time on this movie is because of the one offense worse than anything else. It is super boring. And the whole movie is shot under the grossest fluorescent office lighting you've ever seen, and it's just as boring as spending an hour and 20 minutes in an office. The characters are also the most aggressive stereotypes I think I've ever seen. The worst offender being the main character, and the entire movie, oh my god, I want to punch him in the face so bad. When they wrote the dialogue for this character, they just had the thesaurus next to them, but they used it for every single word. The women in the movie are also not real people. Like, one of them is just a hypersexualized cheerleader type, and then the other one is a damsel in distress. So boo, tomato, tomato. None of the characters act like real people, and it's not even in a funny way. It's just like a I'm cringing the entire time way. The special effects are also terrible. It is very repetitive, and Tommy Chong doesn't even show up until like the last 15 minutes. A travesty, I'm telling you. So I urge you, do not waste precious moments of your life watching this movie. Just look at me. Look how many brain cells I've clearly destroyed. Once you see more clips and you watch this entire breakdown, you will see, and you will thank me, your friend in weed, your ganja goddess, your hash highness, your weed wife, your pot princess, your marijuana majesty. Am I gonna get demonetized for that? I should probably stop, but I could keep going all day, and that's actually how I created the name for this channel. Oh boy, we're getting a little derailed. I kind of knew that this would happen though. Let's just talk about Evil Bong. First thing, right off the bat, I pointed this out in my Letterboxd review and on my Instagram, but the very first shot of the movie is of Jesus smoking a joint. So happy Easter, everybody. This is a holiday movie, yes. Such perfect timing too, because I actually did watch it on Easter. And yes, I broke my tea break that day, so you could say that I had risen indeed. Do you get it? Because I was high. Anyway, so the movie opens on a very stereotypical bro cave on a very obvious sound stage. Like, why did they film this movie like an episode of Friends? The only thing missing was a laugh track. Also, I have to say about our main character here, Alistair is a very obvious Dwight ripoff. Yeah, I see what you're trying to do. But the first like 10 minutes of this movie are just devoted to introducing us to all of these awful characters. We have Larnell, who, you know, he's a typical guy. He likes smoking weed and playing video games. Truly no descriptive words could be used to describe this man because he is so basic. But he does have one of my favorite lines of dialogue from this movie. Because during the intros of all the characters, we learn that, of course, all of them love weed except for the nerd. So he goes on this whole rant about how, oh, I don't want my faculties to be impaired.
And to complete my studies, I will require that every one of my brain cells is in tip-top condition.
And then Larnell embodies like every stoner in the world when he says this.
Dude, it's just weed.
If that ain't the truth. He also preaches moderation. We love a responsible consumer. Then we have Brett. He's the jock. And if there's one thing about Brett, he's got some trophies. And he loves his trophies. And you better not touch his trophies. And of course his name is Brett. Of course. Finally, we have this sort of Napoleon Dynamite wannabe character in the form of Bachman.
Great. I can't hear the ocean anymore. I think you busted it. Thanks, Brett. Oh, monkey.
I'm not gonna lie to you, audience, I would date the hell out of this man. The bar is in hell, it's true, but I love me a simple-minded stoner boy. If he doesn't stare blankly with a slack jaw when I speak to him, then I don't want it. So those are all our important characters, but right after their introduction, they find an advertisement for a strange bong. Even though I'm pretty sure this thing would classify as a hookah, but semantics. When the bong arrives to the apartment, this is tonally one of the most confusing parts of the entire movie. Because I get that it's kind of a horror movie, so some parts of it are ironically creepy, like they're meant to be played off as comedy. But I don't know, because this mailman delivers the bong, and he is the creepiest part of this entire movie.
Larnell, perhaps it's the item you've been waiting for?
Yeah, that's it. It's the item you've been waiting for.
Like, sir, for what? You even said yourself you don't know what's in this box, so why are you acting like that? Once you learn the backstory of the bong, you learn that the mailman had nothing to do with it. He's just the world's weirdest mailman. Anyways, so they start smoking out of the bong and everybody's loving it. It's like it's speaking to all of them spiritually and literally. The bong starts to like hiss and speak to the nerd directly. And then we jump to the next day, and he doesn't seem to be concerned about it at all. Like, he doesn't tell anyone what happened, and he's just generally not concerned. Which I get that he's the nerd, so he's like Mr. Logic, but still, why did he experience that if not to tell anyone about it the next day? Don't give me a plot point if you're never gonna engage with it again. But that day, Brett decides to bring a couple girls over. I guess one of them is his girlfriend, and blech. One of the girls is literally eating a lollipop and wearing a cheerleading outfit just because it turns Brett on. It seems like the setup to a porno where women are nothing but objects of desire to the men. There's actually a huge problem with this happening all across the comedy genre because that genre is overwrought with the least funny kind of human being possible, straight men, and it only gets worse in this movie, so much worse. So just hang tight, This is where things finally start to get a little bit interesting. Bachman smokes himself into a coma, and in fact he is so high that the bong sucks out his soul and transports him to an alternate strip club dimension inside of the bong. Just so many questions about that. When I saw on the synopsis that they would get sucked into an alternate dimension, I thought the alternate dimension would be some kind of magical forest with fairies and like giant magic mushrooms. Not the worst strip club I've ever seen in my entire life. And unfortunately, Bachman's luck runs out when he meets one of the strippers. Here, she whips out her boobs, and he has the best line of dialogue in this entire movie.
Goth boobs, huh? That's cool.
I'm telling you, this man is my soulmate. Goth boobs, huh? Goth boobs, huh? Goth boobs, huh? But then her boobs start to tear out his throat. And the next morning, his friends try to wake him up, but what? He's dead.
Oh, what a buzzkill!
Imagine you find one of your best friends dead and the first thing you say is, fuck, fuck, what a buzzkill. So some parts of this movie are funny, but it's just something about it. I don't know if it's the editing, but the delivery is just so whack. This is also the most of a reaction to someone dying that you'll see in the entire movie, but more on that later. I'm gonna pretty much skim over this whole next scene because it makes no sense at all. It's just Larnell's grandpa coming over and showing off his new girlfriend, and it's just another decrepit old person. Like, who cares? Where is Tommy Chong? When this scene ends, we're about 43 minutes into an 83-minute long movie, and basically nothing has happened yet. After that, the friends who are alive basically devise a plan for Alistair to get laid, because I guess one of the hot girls that came over earlier that day was also a nerd, so of course they'll hit it off. But really, Brett was just saying all of this in order to convince Alistair not to call the cops and instead to put Bachman's body in the basement. And whatever, this movie doesn't need to make sense, but I just wish that it did a little bit. But before the girls come over, who should get sucked into the bong but poor Larnell? And when he gets in there, he sees Bachman, which again, I just wish the movie made a little bit of sense. We saw him die in the alternate dimension. Do you just respawn in that dimension and you carry on having fun as if you were never murdered by a stripper's goth boobs? America, explain! Larnell then unfortunately meets the same fate as Bachman, just gets chomped by some shark boobies. And we also finally see the bong personified, and I just want to give you a moment, just like prepare. This is it. This is the bong. It does have a voiceover, but its face is just painted on. There's no practical animation, no CGI animation, literally just a painted face and a disembodied voice. Mind-boggling that a little bit more professional of puppetry was not even considered as an investment for this piece of shit film. Oh, and also his grandpa is in the bong. Why? How did he get there? And why is this how they choose to pad out the runtime? Back in the real world, the mediocre male agenda is at large, with this beautiful girl falling for Alistair for some reason. I guess because they're both good at history. I don't like it. Some male screenwriters have never had anyone tell them how average they are, and it shows. I've talked about the Adam Sandler issue. I think I'm just gonna coin that term for this phenomenon. I've talked about it several times before, and I still get a comment here and there from men who are like, what do you mean? Honey, if you don't see what I'm talking about, then you just don't want to see it. Oh, I'm such a nice guy though. Girls just don't like nice guys. Boo! Tomato! Tomato! You're not actually nice, or else women would probably like you. And Alistair is not nice. He's weird and he's annoying, and I hate this movie. Then a slight trigger warning for this next portion, but we have to witness basically attempted sexual assault and crazy women just being crazy. Seriously, this scene made me want to pour acid into my eyes.
Give me a minute. You know I like to mellow out when I'm stoned.
Oh, yeah. The twister. The twister. I'm horny.
So many notes here. The joke is that she's a crazy woman who, first of all, is high. I don't know a single stoner who smokes weed and then has the energy to be literally bouncing up and down and being like, I have known some people who would smoke before working out, but that's just because elevating your heart rate makes you more high, I guess. They didn't do it because weed gives you some almighty adrenaline boost. Like, I don't know where the misconception comes from that you act crazy when you're high. Like, why is she on a pogo stick? Brother, I'm lost. Oh, and then she uses the F slur.
We're going it.
And I think that more than likely they didn't actually have all of this weird dialogue planned out. I'm sure that this was mostly improvised. And if that's the case, that's ooh, woof. But also, Alistair and Janet are just sitting there barely reacting to her essentially trying to assault someone. But whatever, once that train wreck of a scene starts to come to a close, she passes out and then both of them end up in the alternate dimension. And lo and behold, the girlfriend is basically kidnapped by the alternate dimension security, which I still don't understand. And then a stripper kills Brett with her boobs yet again. It was funny the first time with Bachman, and I have to admit the art department kind of killed it with these weird bras. The fake blood also looks surprisingly good too. But I'm bored. This is the third time we've seen the same kind of kill in the exact same location. I understand that small budgets don't allow for too many locations, but goddamn, you couldn't have customized each kill a little bit more? Like maybe they're kind of each in their own personal heaven-turned hellscape. Like Bretman is also surrounded by his trophies or something, and then Bachman is just surrounded by even more weed. Somewhere in the multiverse, someone with a much larger budget made this movie, and it's a really cool hero epic about this nerd that goes through a bunch of character development, saving each of his newfound friends from their different heaven-turned hellscapes. But alas, we live in the timeline where this movie is shit. While that's going on, Alistair and Janet figure out what's going on immediately. Like, they immediately jump to the conclusion that their friends have ended up in an alternate dimension inside the bong. Like, okay. And also, even when they're like, oh my god, my friends are dead, there is no reaction from Janet.
He's dead.
Oh my god.
Just like Bachman.
What happened?
That's a really easy tell, by the way, if you want to find out whether or not someone is a good actor. Do they react to other things happening in the scene, or do they just wait until they deliver their next line? But oh no, Janet has also smoked some of the weed, so she passes out. And finally, my brothers in Christ, the moment that we've been waiting for. At an hour and 2 minutes into this movie, Tommy Chong finally shows up. His name is Jimbo, and right off the bat, he's just throwing around absolutely classic one-liners.
She sold all my shit, man. Sold my Hot Wheels collection. Man, I miss those little cars.
It turns out he's there because he just woke up from a weed coma and his wife thought he was dead, and so she sold his bong. It took an hour and 5 minutes for me to laugh for the second time in this movie at that Hot Wheels line. He had one more good line too, though, so for good measure, here's that.
Well, got all my brain cells. But that's okay, because I wasn't using them anyway.
He just gets it. And then he ends up being your average mystical kind of expert on whatever the main characters have been going through for the whole movie. And he has the weirdest Deus Ex Machina I've ever heard of.
I think they're vitamins, but it's your only chance.
All right.
Yeah, vitamins. Just wait on that. So Alistair decides to go into the bong to save Janet based on the fact that Tommy Chong just showed up and gave him these vitamins. For a total nerd, he is also a total dipshit. And this is where all my suspicions were confirmed. Alistair is the true villain of this story. Just listen up. He goes in and he sees Janet living her absolute best life, dancing with a male stripper. And do you know what this man does? He doesn't even fight the stripper or do anything heroic. He literally just stands there and yammers away until he finally yoinks her out of the cage. That's just how you know that not a single woman ever gave notes on this script. Like, what the fuck? And even after that, he can't convince her high ass to leave, and rightfully so. She was just having a way better time dancing with the interdimensional stripper than she was playing history trivia games with Alistair. Like, what? So then he gives her a vitamin and this sobers them up, but unfortunately Jimbo has now been sucked into the evil bong dimension and there are no more vitamins to save him. Now this is where the movie shifted into 12th gear. Kind of. I'm kind of kidding, kind of not really. This movie is really boring. Jimbo just wants this vicious cycle to end, so he confronts the bong and she reveals her evil plans.
Soon I will control the world, a great, big, beautiful stoned world.
I gotta ask, does that sound that bad to anyone else? Like, she wants to take over the world by getting everyone high and forcing them to just chill out? Like, that doesn't sound that bad to me. Respectfully, though, this strip club looks like my worst nightmare because the bathrooms in that place are probably so disgusting. So that part of it I wouldn't be down with, but her whole mission I'm kind of rocking with. But then because this is the most ridiculous movie I've ever seen, she's like, you can't kill me, and he's like, well, I have a bomb. Anyways, he blows up the alternate dimension and the friends all wake up, like even the ones who didn't have magical vitamins. Again, I know this movie doesn't need to make sense, I know, but having it make just a little sense would be nice. Like just take in enough vitamins and give one to each of the friends while you're there and then run out before Jimbo shows up. That's such an easy fix just to fill that logic gap. But it gets worse because that's not even the full ending. The actual final scene of the movie makes everything make even less sense. Everyone wakes up except for Jimbo because he wakes up still in the dimension and now he's in charge of it and he gets to drive his Hot Wheels over the stripper's boobs. A true fairy tale ending for a weed king. Ugh. That movie was so bad. I'm not gonna waste either of our time by pondering why the ending of the movie was what it was. Nothing makes sense, and that's how it is, and I think that it was on purpose, but it wasn't done in a good way. I need a little more structure. I think it's okay that my standards are above this movie. I gave this movie a half star. I was really sad about it. I would have given this movie no stars, just nothing. I wouldn't have rated it, except that I laughed, I think, 3 times. So it earned just a smidgen, just a tiny little bit of my respect. Now I hope you understand why I implore you not to watch this sad excuse of a horror movie, but you guys voted for it on my Instagram story. You chose between this movie and 420 Massacre, which now I think I am gonna watch because there's just no way that it's worse than Evil Bong. I don't think it's possible. It's about a group of girls who go into the forest, I think to celebrate one of their birthdays, and they end up accidentally on a hemp farm, and then they are running for their lives. And maybe I'll cover that one next year, I don't know, but maybe subscribe and click the notification bell so you can find out. Also, let me know how you plan to partake in this holiday, if at all. I will live vicariously through you since I cannot burn. Sad days, but it just means that next year will be that much better. Plus, I'll celebrate 422 because it's 422. I also hope that you caught the 420 live stream that I hosted today. That was super fun, but if you didn't see it, then you can just go and catch the playback now. Remember to consume responsibly, always start small with edibles and work your way up. I know it's kind of like a rite of passage to eat too much of your first edible and then suffer an ego death, but I say that we break that cycle. Moderation is fun. Moderation is sexy. Be safe, my children. As always, a big thank you to my patrons who got to see my first reactions to movies like Evil Bong and X and Morbius. They also get to see uncut versions of my horror gaming videos. They make this stuff possible. Google AdSense, not really the homie, but these guys, these are the homies. If you'd like to be a homie as well, you can sign up. That will be linked down below, but if not, you can check out all my other social media for free. Just you being here and engaging with my content and being subscribed is a huge help as well. So thank you, I love ya, have a good one, and I hope I catch you in the next one. Bye!